Nana Otumfuo say Ageyman Prempeh. Owuo kradia nipa ntumi nyi. Se ba se yemfa nimpa anase sikampre wonkwa. Ka obusuafo ene womanfo beye.
A great tree has fallen. A mighty tree has been uprooted. Man cannot deny death. We would have saved you were we able, but death cannot be denied. You go to join the elders. We pray you honor us to them. We pray you block the path of death, that we who are alive shall not die. We will give you a grand funeral. This prayer was offered by the Queen Mother as the Asantehene, the leader of the Ashanti nation, lay dying. After a reign of nearly 40 years, the funeral of Sir Osei Ageyman Prempeh II brings the Ashanti nation to a formal expression of grief, a last gesture of respect. People from all over Ghana have come together in this final tribute, and at the same time to pay their respects to the new Asantehene. They have left their pursuits as lawyers and doctors, as school teachers and farmers. They have left their preoccupations with the modern world to recapture and to reinforce the ties of tradition. Kumasi has been the capital of the Ashanti nation for nearly 3 centuries. In 1848, a British governor wrote that the streets are generally very broad, clear, and shaded. The walls consist of wattle plastered with clay. The houses are all thatched with palm leaves, and the eaves extend far over the walls. Kumasi has grown from an inland trade center and the administrative core of a large nation into a great modern city. A sea of umbrellas fills a large meeting ground near the king's palace. Each umbrella declares the presence of a traditional chief and his entourage. Umbrellas have served as symbols of leadership in West Africa since the 14th century, at least. A chorus of hornblowers announces the arrival of Opoku Ware II, the new Asantehene and successor to King Prempeh II. Talking drums sing the praises of the new king, and chanters celebrate the glorious past of the nation. Chiefs and warriors in battle dress arrive, and muskets are fired to salute the dead king, and also to serve as a reminder of the military prowess of the Ashanti army. Traditional chiefs parade to their appointed places in the ceremonial grounds. Lesser chiefs walk, greater chiefs are carried in palanquins. All display symbols of power, the gun and the sword. With its handle of gold, the royal sword is an authority symbol, the sword of state for each of the units of the nation. A mildly narcotic plant is held in the mouth to offset the pangs of hunger. Groups dressed in red or dark brown, the traditional colors of mourning, arrive at the meeting place. During the days of formal ceremonies, the mourners fast. A funeral song declares, "Always I think of the day of death. I cannot eat. I walk in sadness, and I die." The way is cleared for the delegations to take their places. Women of the royal household wear red robes and headbands, and during the period of mourning, wear no jewelry. Each person has a fixed place for the ceremonies. The places are assigned according to the traditional role of the court functionary, whether he is a war chief, keeper of the king's sandals, or the treasurer responsible for the king's gold. The persistence of these traditions is clear from the first major European report of the Ashanti, that of Thomas Bowditch, who was England's first official envoy to Kumasi in 1817. His illustrations of a formal ceremony show the same sense of protocol and the same symbols of authority: the state swords and the war drums, the trumpets and the umbrellas, and the Asantehene seated in state. The death of the old Asantehene is recalled with wailing and with stylized gestures of extreme despair. The sense of intense grief and of national loss is conveyed by the symbolism of wreaths and of red ochre paint. The new Asantehene acknowledges and accepts these traditional gestures. Similarly, the Queen Mother of Ashanti, she who first announced the death of the king and who helped to select his successor, receives the sympathy and respect of her followers. In this society of warriors, women, such as the Queen Mother, have major leadership roles. Formal gestures of mourning include gifts to the family. These gifts of food, drink, and money, gold and silver, are a form of paying respect to the dead and also help to repay the family for the large costs of the funeral. Thus, the gifts reflect the grief, the respect, and the sense of social responsibility of the giver. Meanwhile, the Asantehene continues to receive the good wishes of his subjects and visitors. The linguists, spokesmen of the chiefs of the realm, official historians, and keepers of protocol, convey to the Asantehene the formal greetings of their chiefs and peoples. Their staffs, of wood covered with gold, symbolize the qualities and attributes of ideal leadership. Traditionally, gold is the metal of leadership, and gold was the lure that brought Europeans to the Gold Coast several decades before Columbus reached the New World. For almost 400 years, Europeans were interested in trade with the coast. Their cargoes of gold, ivory, spices, and slaves were secured with little more than a casual concern for the peoples or geography of the interior. Only in the 19th century were significant journeys of exploration begun, including that of Bowditch in 1817. But with curiosity came conflict, resulting in a series of wars between the British and the Ashantis. Eventually, the British were successful, and the Asantehene, Prempeh I, surrendered and was sent into exile. In his absence, the Ashanti held to their image of greatness, but European influences, including modes of dress, were increasingly felt. In 1924, Prempeh I was repatriated, first as a private citizen and later as chief of Kumasi. However, his subjects, strengthened by his return, treated him as the Asantehene until his death in 1931. He was succeeded by Prempeh II, who served as leader during the difficult times of transition from colonialism to independence, from Gold Coast to Ghana. The new Asantehene, Opoku Ware II, has in turn succeeded Prempeh. The final funeral ceremonies for Prempeh II are the responsibility of his successor, and the respects paid by the Ashantis and visitors are directed equally to lamenting the loss of a great leader and celebrating the accession of another. A group of northern Ghanaian chiefs pay homage through dances and gifts. Their clothing, like their music, springs from a different tradition than that of the Ashantis. Thus, the week-long celebrations continue with fasting, dancing, and ceremony. An orchestra of drums, which includes several types of talking drums, furnishes the music for men's dances. On the 6th and 7th days, secret consecration ceremonies purify the nation and the relics of the dead king. His subjects have ceremonially cleansed themselves. The dark clothing that has characterized the days of deep mourning has been set aside, and the official note of sadness ends with feasting. The food is furnished by the Asantehene and is distributed to the visiting chiefs. The main dish is yam fufu, served with a sauce of peppers, tomatoes, garlic, goat meat, and plantains. Mildly alcoholic palm wine is a favored and extremely refreshing drink. It is used ritually to pour libations to the ancestors and has a place in most ceremonies. Princesses of the royal household continue to wear red headbands of mourning, although they are now encouraged to display golden jewelry that symbolizes the wealth of the Ashanti people. During these last days, the people continue to pay their respects to the Asantehene. His authority may be acknowledged by removing one's sandals or by bowing respectfully in his presence. The Asantehene has his own orchestra of master drummers. growing sense of excitement and anticipation is felt as it becomes known that the procession of the Golden Stool has begun. The Golden Stool is the supreme symbol of the Ashanti nation. It is believed to have descended from heaven to rest gently on the knees of the first Asantehene. Unlike other consecrated stools, which house the souls of dead kings, the Golden Stool contains and protects the soul of the Ashanti people. It is thus a higher and greater symbol than the throne of any particular king, even that of an Asantehene. The royal stools of earlier Asantehenes are visible evidence of a sense of history and a sense of dynasty. And now the stool of Prempeh II joins this group of sacred relics. With the closing of the funeral ceremonies, Prempeh II has taken his place in the sacred past of the Ashanti. A great tree has fallen, a mighty tree has been uprooted. Man cannot deny death. We would have saved you were we able, but death cannot be denied.